An entrepreneur called Daniel Priestley recently went on a major podcast called The Diary of a CEO. It's one of the biggest in the world. And there he talked about his passion for entrepreneurship. And he is a believer that the power is shifting from institutions, multinational like corporations, to the individuals. So basically, because you have a phone in your pocket, which this isn't the best example, but this is a phone that can like take video and you can broadcast to the entire world. So basically you have a lot of the tools that a multinational corporation might have, but you have none of the bureaucracy, you have none of you can make fast decisions instead of slow decisions. So we've seen this transition in like power from the brands and institutions to personal brands. So we can see that when we look at, there's some animal behind me. We can see that when we, for example, look at like Elon has more followers than NASA and SpaceX, and we can see when we look at Trump, he has more followers than the Republican Party. So like these individual brands eclipse the corporate brands. And one guy in the comments, he got outraged about this. He got outraged because the implied narrative of this guy Daniel Priestley was that everyone can basically go out and be an entrepreneur. Because of this new technology, because of AI, because of Shopify, we can build things easily, easier than ever. And this guy in the comments, he said, well, some of us actually like doing repetitive tasks, and we don't like to take the risk of becoming an entrepreneur. And we also don't have the abilities and the skill set to become an entrepreneur, a successful one. And to that, I want to like dedicate this video to talk about that, because I actually think that everyone can and will have to think like entrepreneurs in the future. We are in a time of massive change, and yeah. Also, the thing that he said about like we like doing repetitive tasks, a lot of people agreed with him on like that string of in the comment section, right? And I think if you love doing repetitive tasks and that is kind of your thing and that's what you like to do, then I think you're pretty fucked in the next 20 years, because a lot of those repetitive tasks are going to be just deleted by AI and by technology. So yeah, it's repetitive tasks. I know that a lot of new jobs will be created. We can't foresee the jobs that will be created. We can maybe predict some of the jobs that will be lost to AI, probably not all, but there will be created new jobs, but the repetitive jobs, not so much. So if that's your thing, like this guy in the comments, I think that's not great. But let's talk about like the idea that we have to have people who like do specialized labor in order for like the world to run around is one that a lot of people might share, because that's how the world works right now. We get hired into these big organizations like Google with 150,000 employees, and we work for them, and we fulfill a little tiny job. And the thing is, if we have to believe this thing that everyone can be entrepreneurs, we have to kind of like shift the focus. Because if we look at this time right now, where we have these big corporations and lots of people hired in this corporation, this might not be a possibility that everyone can be an entrepreneur right now. But the thing is, how we work as a species of humans have changed a lot over time. Let's go back to the hunter-gatherer age. We actually gathered and like hunted on an individual basis. Like we worked on an individual basis, and we operated in like groups or tribes. And then the feudalism system. Then came the industrial age, where the steam engine was made. So suddenly you didn't need land. You didn't need a lot of space to put a farm. You could actually just have a factory and have a lot of specialized labor. People doing the molding, people like handling the molten iron and cutting the things and doing the blacksmithing and all this. These were specialized labor that you needed. So the rules of the game kind of changed. And this thing has now morphed itself into what we have today, which is kind of the same system still, with these gigantic organizations employing thousands of people, and all these people doing specialized labor underneath one giant. But actually, I've heard people talk about that the digital age, which we're in right now, will reverse the industrial age in how we work. There's this thing called the optimal size of the firm. And basically what that means is at any business can basically just be fractionalized into jobs being done. So it's essentially this big corporation. If you just break it down, it's basically just one guy doing this job, one guy doing that job. And the reason that the firm has the size that it has, the organization has the size it has, is because it's difficult to organize labor like in the marketplace where you buy labor here and there and here and there if you don't have it like in-house. So it's difficult to like organize. It's easier just to employ people and then they kind of know the whole scene and you build this in-house organization. But the thing is, with the rise of technology, AI, these platforms like Shopify where you can easily build a website and AI can do a lot of copywriting and a lot of work with like editing and coding and troubleshooting and technical IT stuff, and it can do loads of different activities. And then most importantly, the whole freelance thing, which is basically either you have two ways that you can like hire talent, right? You can either take it in-house or you can have it outside of the house, and you can get freelancers, hire an agency or whatever. But with the rise of technology and platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, these platforms enable people to really easily hire people and also rate the people afterwards and pay the people on the platform really quick and easy. So essentially it gets a lot easier with technology to hire people outside, and it gets easier to organize labor outside your organization, which means the optimal size of the organization shrinks. And we've already seen this happen. It makes more sense to hire people outside than to bring them in-house for a lot of tasks, and a lot of tasks can actually also be done by AI or by technology. What does this mean? Well, if we take the guy's word for it who like says that it will reverse the industrial age, then we might actually go back, and this is an idea from Naval, a guy who was on the Joe Rogan podcast like many years ago that I watched, and he said that we're going to work in tribes. So instead of working under these huge organizations, we're going to go out on missions on our own. We're going to maybe have an app where we get like booked to do certain things, certain jobs. We might go out for a week or a month in little tribes, do the work and get paid and move on. If we're not willing to change the way we work and we're just like stuck in this old system, at some point we'll have to change. So I think that is why entrepreneurship is talked about as a solution, because it's not about like entrepreneurship. The definition is like a guy who runs an enterprise. But entrepreneurship, thinking like an entrepreneur, is also about like thinking in terms of solutions and how can we solve this and how can we do this differently. That is very much like the defining forces of entrepreneurship. And I think those are some of the key words that will define the people who actually achieve success in the coming decades. The people who are stuck in an old system, who are just doing the repetitive tasks, they're getting the pay cuts because you know, people don't want to pay when you can have an AI do it for free. Entrepreneurship has also changed in what it means to be an entrepreneur, actually. It isn't anymore these huge funded ventures like a startup in Silicon Valley. It's anyone can literally be an entrepreneur. You can pick up a camera, you can start on these platform broadcasting, or you can help people with a service, or you can start a products business. I've also seen this in like a report from the World Economic Forum about like the most important skills in 2025. And the most important skills are like critical thinking and continuous learning and like analyzing things, and those are some of the key like continuous learning and active listening also, which one that surprised me. So these are like skills that you can grow with, skills that are not dependent on any kind of technology, evergreen skills as you might call them. And these are the skills that you want to acquire if you want to thrive in the coming years. When someone comes in with a different narrative of like, everyone can be entrepreneurs and you just got to do this. I guess it's very easy to like come and tell, well, everyone can't do that, and that also might be true to an extent. But I think the things that Daniel Priestley said on that video about our whole work environment changing and the arguments for that, and the reason that technology is changing our world, you can't deny that. And you just have to be open to the fact that our world might change, and you better be ready for it when it happens. And my answer to the question of how do we get ready for this change is, how do we acquire these entrepreneurial evergreen skills? It's by going out and doing projects, especially if you're young and if you have children. It's very important that you teach them this. And the best way to do it is just by having them solve problems. Get started, get out there, start your business. The first business you start won't be the last one, I can tell you that, because I just counted it actually the other day. I've started 20 like hustles or businesses to make me money. 20. Go to zerotofirst.com if you want a sheet of the 10 business projects that you can start. If you're a parent who has kids, download it and start a project with your kids. It can be a very educational process for both you and your child, and it can give you some great skills. Also, if you sign up to the, just put your email in, zero2first.com, zero to first, then if you put your email in, you'll get invited to the community that we're starting, and you'll get free lifetime access to the community if you sign up now.